found this site this afternoon, Drunks and Lampposts, and there's this amazing graphing the history of philosophy. And this is a bit in the blog, which was done in June 2012. Here we go. This is ancient and medieval philosophy. There's a graph of basically all of philosophy. And what's happened is the person who made these graphs and writes this blog, SIMONRAPER, explains how he's done it using this Wikipedia-based media interrogation or data interrogation algorithm, which then dumps its data into a visualized graphic called GEPHI, GEPHI. So it then explains how the different philosophers are related to each other, and also intimates that there's the intention of doing some further work in terms of showing which way the arrow of influence goes between the different philosophers. Here's a bit about how it decides who goes where. Philosopher A, philosopher B and weight. And it takes it all from Wikipedia. Now, I mean, I think this is absolutely wonderful. And if you click on the graph of the whole, just go here. You've got ancient medieval philosophy in the green here. You've got the continental tradition here, and then at the analytic, well, British empiricism, American pragmatism, the analytic tradition. So here it is here. Up here, this is kind of Islamic philosophy. Across here is Confucian philosophy. These, I mean, I've called this video the firmament of philosophy, and it's like a universe of philosophy. I mean, you can look at the different schools or traditions of philosophy as different galaxies almost. Now, I've downloaded some music to play when we just have a look at these now. Sorry to go on so much. And what I did is I found this wonderful open source MuseOpen. Where are we? Here it is. Here, look. MuseOpen, and you can join for free and download royalty-free performances of lots of classical music. And as this I'm doing as the firmament of philosophy. The US Air Force Band playing Gustav Holst's Planet Suite. They've got Mars and they've got Venus, and I think Venus is the most appropriate, really. So I'm just going to play. What I did is I transcoded the OGG file to an MP3 file using VLC, which is also open source. And so I'm going to play that now in the background. Here we go. And let's just have a look around this. Obviously, the download links will be in the bar. So if we start over here with here we are, Aristotle and Plato. Interesting to see Emanuel Swedenborg. Actually, they're overlapping with Aristotle. He's the famous Swedish mystic philosopher. I was also interested to see Gottfried Leibniz down here, actually on the same latitude as Baruch Spinoza, and there's their famous correspondence. Of course, Gottfried Leibniz, being a courtier, was very worried about his association with Baruch Spinoza. Who we got here? We've got Machiavelli here. I've recently read a very interesting book, which I've got here, which is Flights of the Mind, about Leonardo da Vinci, and it's interesting. Both Leonardo and Machiavelli were on detail to Borgia as he was basically rampaging around Italy, sort of knocking off various sort of principalities and claiming them as his own. And it's quite interesting insights into that. These were the days before Machiavelli actually wrote The Prince. Who else have we got here? Thomas Hobbes down here. I was seeing if I could find one of my favourites, Epictetus, which I haven't as yet spotted. So coming out here, we've got scholasticism, and then here you've got Confucius, so the Confucian stuff, and then these are the kind of the outliers. What's interesting really about Islamic philosophy and what have you is the debt that Western philosophy actually owes to Islamic philosophy for preserving it for us, and many of those translations were very, very important. So a lot of these names are pretty unfamiliar to us lot, and I'm familiar with a few of them, but only the really sort of well-known ones. All these philosophers are actually on the philosophy portal at Wikipedia, so it's possible to go in and get links to their different works. Here we are, up here, we've got Albert Camus, and then just coming into view here, Simon Critchley. It's interesting to see Simon Critchley up here. He's a famous anarchist philosopher, whose work I'm quite interested in. I'm more interested in Cornel West, to be honest, and they appear on various videos on YouTube. And there it is, Jacques Derrida, who, I mean, I really like his stuff, but it's interesting to see quite what a big kind of planet he is in this firmament. Leo Strauss over there. I think he's quite a lot of libertarians, or maybe classical liberals, I think, are quite into him. Heidegger here, Nietzsche. There's a huge planet for Nietzsche. He's a positive Saturn. Who else have we got here? It's Michel Foucault down here. He's interesting. Kierkegaard there. He's kind of a famous Danish philosopher. Gramsci here, famous Marxist theoretician, Italian writer, really interesting guy. Karl Marx, of course. Friedrich Engels down here. Peter Kropotkin, he's one of my favourites. He's right out here. Interesting that he's got a link into Noam Chomsky here. It's nice to see Noam there in the analytical school. Immanuel Kant, obviously, he's another very great big blob. Hegel, Schopenhauer. Interesting to see Schopenhauer there in between Kant and Hegel. William James. Now, C.S. Peirce is here, who was a great influence on James. Here we are, here's Peirce. Here, there's some wonderful articles of his on the, there's a site for Charles Sanders Peirce, and one of his essays is How We Keep Our Thoughts Clear, which was published in some journal at the time. Bertrand Russell here, a big David Hume here. Let me just go. Thomas Kuhn, he's interesting. Some of these sort of more outliers of Willard von Orman Quine, and Chomsky studied with him, and then you got Carnap. Of course, Carnap and Quine had quite a sort of thing going on. The two dogmas of empiricism. Carnap comes in for a bit of flack from Quine. Alan Turing in here. But a new one to me who I wanted to do some more of was E.S. Schumacher, who was an economist, but it was actually reading up on him today that I actually came across this wonderful thing. There's John Stuart Mill there, Thomas Reid down here, Isaac Newton, Herbert Spencer. There's Descartes there. He's up there with Hobbes, Leibniz, and Descartes. So these are all relative to each other in terms of who they've influenced and how much influence they have. And you can, as I say, just have a good look round. Sort of find your sort of favourite philosophers and actually see who they've influenced and in turn. Epicurus is there. Got all excited then. I thought that might be Epictetus. There's Duns Scotus there. Now, the interesting thing about Duns Scotus in my recent reading is I've been reading the exchange between Luther and Erasmus. I did spot Erasmus in here earlier. I did some reading on polemics the other day, and kind of got into that. In fact, I think a lot of these dialogues are really useful to have a read of. I read one between. We come over here. I did spot him in here earlier. Oh, here's Cornell West. Oh, how exciting! Here's Cornell West. Umberto Eco as well, great linguist there. Again, Noam Chomsky, another world famous leading linguist there. Of course, Wittgenstein, he was really into that. Famous spat between, who was it? It was between him and Karl Popper, I think. When Wittgenstein was waving a hot poker around a little bit excitedly, good knockabout stuff. There we are, Proudhon. I read a debate between Proudhon and the guy that wrote the candle thing, Bastiat, and that was really very interesting reading. I'm quite interested in money, so of course the other thing, for people who are interested in money, got Murray Rothbard over here, is very interested. But John Locke wrote a treatise on money for the king, and of course, where is he? Isaac Newton, who's down here, was also pulled in to comment on that, and that's something which Bishop Berkeley there, falling trees and making noise. David Lewis, who's a very interesting guy. Saw one of his papers I read recently on my hard drive, which I want to get out and have another look at. But this is endlessly fascinating. Oh, there he is, Maimonides. Now, he was interesting. I was very interesting on God and the Torah. And his view of God is actually the same as Baruch Spinoza's. And what's interesting is that he's really, he was, or remained quite high up in the Jewish church, whereas Baruch Spinoza was obviously excommunicated. I found that kind of interesting, especially as this guy was writing the 1100s and Spinoza was somewhat later than that, sort of 16th century, wasn't he? But just looking at these different, it's not really any surprise to see Duns Scotus going to Augustine. You'd expect that, wouldn't you? As Michel de Montaigne, as another sort of one of the favourites, if you like. But as I say, I mean, that's 8 minutes, that piece of music, and there's Gilles Deleuze. Well, it's very interesting to see. He's not often quoted in discussions I come across, but his Capitalism and Schizophrenia is very interesting. Freud. William Shakespeare, would you believe? Now that's interesting. Yeah, and well, I'm going to wrap that up now. Hopefully, this will have proved interesting to some other people as well. But here it is, graphing the history of philosophy in the blog Drunks and Lampposts, and the creator of this just stunning visual is SIMONRAPER, statistician. Really, really cool, gotta say. Very, very excited about this. Keep me looking for hours. These mind maps, there are a couple of programs that sort of do this that are available. In fact, there's James Burke, the ex-BBC editor, the science editor, has a knowledge web or something which uses a similar sort of algorithm for his connection series. But this is just stunning, absolutely stunning, I must say. I got to say, I'm chuffed to bits that to see Cornel West on here. I obviously would expect to see Noam Chomsky, but to see Cornel West, one surprise, for me at least, is Stefan Molleneaux was actually on here, which, I don't know, might not surprise some people. It did surprise me. Clearly his Wikipedia page is very well looked after to get on here, because all these philosophers, I say, this data set comes from Wikipedia, and the influences in the pane, the summary pane of the different the different philosophers. Where was Cornell West again? There he is, Cornell West. There he is, Cornell West. He's down here, and then we've got Simon Critchley was up here somewhere, wasn't he? Can't find him now. Anyway, hours of endless fun. Enjoy.